Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and welcome back to Pro Cycling Manager 2021. This is our first look. It's the final episode of our three-part series introducing the game. Now, we continue on with our Criterium de Dauphine race that we are doing, our one-off race. 8 stages in all, and it's stage number 7. Now, in real life, following 6 stages, Alexei Lutsenko leads. He's nowhere near the top of the standings in this one, but Guillaume Martin, our lead guy for Cofidis in real life, is only in 22nd place. But after a good, strong showing in the last stage, Guillaume Martin now sits 9th overall entering this stage and looks poised to move up the order potentially, or at least stay in a similar place where he is. I think we can probably just about hang on to a top 10. Now, that's what's going on in the race part, but let's go ahead and get straight into what we came here to discuss for this episode of our first look, and that is the inner workings of what's going on at Cyanide Studio. Most companies these days are more and more transparent. Cyanide is not one of those, and it is so hard to get information out of them, but I do have some insider information from their own mouths translated to English, and here it goes. So, we've already previously mentioned that it's only a team of 15. Cyanide has a team of 15, and that's not for Pro Cycling Manager. That is for Pro Cycling Manager, their other primary cycling title, which is that Tour de France game. So it's 15 making both simultaneously throughout the year. Of those 15, and this is the unfortunate part, this is the one that bothers a lot of people, and at times I have made note of this, but there's only a single member of those 15 that is full-time QA, as in quality assurance, as in bug hunting, trying to identify problems and fix problems in the game. And that's it. From there, as we are on this Alls category climb, and Haas, I don't think Haas is going to be able to hang on here, or Perez for that matter. Perez is in a better place to maybe. Let's go ahead and use his gel. Parashone, use your gel. You're protecting Geshka. Geshka is struggling, slipping back a little bit. Let's try to get him back into position. Parashone is going to get used up. Perez is going to get used up. Haas is just going to get dropped. This is the unfortunate part about this team, is there isn't support. Down to 98 riders, but Martin, nobody's here protecting him. Perez just getting into the area and totally out of energy. Perez is now beginning to fade. Geshka needs to get on the wheel of his team leader, and you can see Martin again on a -1 today like he was on that last stage. It's going to be hard to do much with this one. 2 massive climbs, and we still have 5k to go on this one, and Martin is struggling already. Perez now beginning to fade. Perez is definitely about to head out the back. Haas hung on longer than I thought he would. Let's set these guys to auto. Haas already set to auto, good. And we're down to just 41 riders. Geshka now flip your roll and protect Martin. Martin really struggling though with just 37 riders. I cannot up this tempo. We've got to just hang on near the back. 3k to go and very limited energy if we're going to be in this group. It's now back up to 45. Things have lifted a bit on pace. Well, anyway, that one QA person is alone for the entirety of the year. However, at release, an external company, unnamed external company, is hired to do some additional QA. Now, my assumption, based on when I received the game, which was 48 hours before release, my assumption is that's when it was ready, because that's when the other YouTubers as well, a handful of us, received the game. I'm assuming that that's probably when the external QA company received it, ready, last minute. They get their hands on it, and then that's it. Geshka on the verge of getting dropped. We're at 43 riders, but Martin will make it. He will be in the group still. I would love to see this split in half here. Yes, I lose Geshka, but all those guys lose 1, 2, 3 teammates as well. I think is probably better than the alternative. We'll see. 30 riders now. Geshka, just 9 dropped. That's not what I wanted to see. I would have liked to have seen 20 dropped. Geshka, very Martin, very little recovery here as we head into the next zone and go over the dam. I don't know how Martin kind of cruised out front on that. We're not riding out front. Nobody is attacking right now. Everybody's just sitting on. So that's going to allow Geshka to get right back into the group. 37 riders now. You figure somebody is going to go to the front and take over pacemaking. That certainly isn't going to be me. We're up to 43 now. 7 more chasing. Perez is 2.5 minutes back, so I don't think he'll get back on. So this is actually a bad thing that these riders are getting back up here and this group is coming together as we prepare for the final climb. I have a single support rider. The other teams are going to probably have more. So external group doing QA, but right around release time and only hired, I believe it was for 1 month. I didn't write it down on my notes, but if I remember correctly, that was what was mentioned, is that it's 1 month worth of QA where they go in, identify bugs, and send it back to the team to fix. And that's why we only get a relatively buggy game at the start, and then they fix it up a bit in the first month, and then that's it. We don't get updates pretty much the rest of the year, and that's unfortunate, but that is what it is. Category 2 climb, but not much pace right now. Lifting, riding at the front. Bahrain victorious, AG2R, both committing 1 rider each, and you can see those guys are doing pretty poor. We're seeing now Ciccone going on the attack. This might be a good time for Martin to respond, because I could see this actually doing something and going somewhere. And he's got enough energy. It's a short climb, and you get full recovery on the descent. So Martin, let's go ahead and participate in this small group attack. We have 4 riders going clear. Martin, Walter, Cosnefroy chasing after. And now it's just Martin and Martin. So Martin and Martin chasing down Ciccone. And 30 seconds clear. If the 3 of us can come together and begin the final climb with a half-minute advantage, we're going to be looking pretty dang good. Not quite what I was hoping for with this one, though. I think we're going to have to sit up. Peloton, though, now has shrunk down massively as I'm joined by Alejandro Valverde, who just won stage 6. The old man. All right, let's go ahead and sit on and begin our recovery. Now it's just 21 riders. I like the circumstances of this one much better. Ciccone, one of the top climbers, and if he gets away, that's fine. But if we have just 21 at the beginning of the next climb, yeah, I'm feeling so much better about those circumstances than the almost 50 that we had a moment ago. All right, well, let's continue on. The bugs, yeah, issue. Not a big fan of that one. You would think with the resources that company has that they would invest a bit more into proper QA, because the bugs are well known. Even with only 1 QA person, the bugs are well known. Not addressing those, not fixing those is very disconcerting. Really not a fan. Hand up, please get this without getting dropped or anything and get right back into position. Yes. Okay. Set up for the final climb. 40 kilometers to go. And it is back together at the front as well. We brought Ciccone in, so 22 riders, and it's a minute 12 to a chase group of 3, and then 16 behind that, minute and a half back, meaning very little chance that they're going to latch back on. Though we do have a bit of a valley before we begin the final ascent. The final ascent, La Peine, 169 kilometers at the finish line. I don't know how long the climb is itself. It's not marked, and that's a little worrying because we used to get good looks in that last year. Hopefully they bring that back, because I'm not seeing our climb identifiers here at the bottom. Martin is mostly recovered as we reach the base. Geshka is fully recovered. If for some reason that group makes it back up, but they're 2.5 minutes down. Not likely to happen. The production cycle of the Pro Cycling Manager game. In August, as in following the conclusion of the tour. This was done later this last year because the COVID schedule threw things off with delays to the tours, Grand Tours happening at the same time. So they begin planning in August. They finalize it in September, and then they go through production till March. So the changes to the game happen between September and March every year. They'll go through from March until June. They go through submitting it for production. They get it to Nacon, who are then getting it out towards Steam and whatnot and getting that set up. Meanwhile, they're working on polishing the game all the way up until release, and then, of course, publish beginning of June. That QA done by July, as mentioned. Now, here's one of the big things, and this is why we're seeing less development of the game lately. Because the same 15 are working on both titles, as Martin is back to full strength, by the way. And somebody attacked again off the front. Adam Yates attacked. I didn't even see it. He's a minute 48 up the road. That's a pretty hefty advantage, but this is a massive climb to be riding solo. 2 minutes is a nice advantage, but again, he is going to be hurting so bad. He's a great climber, though. What is his rating these days? 78, 74? He's similar to Martin, so I don't think he's going to be able to hang on like that. But 2 minutes, nice advantage. Depends on how quickly we pick up the pace, though, on whether he can pace himself and work his way up the order. All right, 40 riders, final climb, 16K. The Tour de France stages, as in the game, the Tour de France, each of those stages takes a month to complete, beginning to end of that process of planning, creation, testing, polishing those stages. Each of them takes a month. That is a lot of time. Now, of course, you can work on more than one stage at a time, but the game has far fewer stages than what we have here in Pro Cycling Manager. But the main reason, the detail, is far greater than what we have on this game. I don't know for certain if it is a different engine. The graphics are significantly cleaner and crisper. It's the same models. That much is clear and evident, but it looks like it's on a different engine. It is made for console and then basically ported to PC these last couple of years. But within that Tour de France title, you have extreme. We already caught Yates, by the way, and it's 41 riders now. Back off a little bit. Soler riding in the front. Castroviejo doing the work. Michael Storer and Carr, Gino Mater working for their teams at the front, and we are just sitting on in a comfortable place. 11K to go, nearly halfway up the climb. Actually, not even quite. We're a third of the way up the climb right now, and you can see just how much fatigue has already set into the legs. So if anything, I think I should just kind of back off and really try to conserve for the next little bit. We are starting to drop riders from the group. It's that Tour de France title that's gotten the most attention these last 2 to 3 years, and it's a game that has developed massively as Valverde on the attack. I'm not responding to that, but Carapaz and Ciccone, Caruso, Carthy, that's what I want to respond to. Bennett, I really don't have much energy for a response. Everybody responding to my attack, that's not a good thing. Small group. Okay, we leave 22 riders behind. It's now 11 chasing 3, and I really do not have much energy left. Why are you still on the attack? I'm riding like I'm attacking, yet I was in relay and low relay effort. It is back together at the top. It's 13 riders, but I don't have the energy to continue on, so this is not looking good. Still 7K to go, so at this point I need to get into survival mode. One rider going clear. That is Caruso, Damiano Caruso, getting ahead. We are getting lost. Mater, Hindley with me, and then I'm just outside of the top 10. That's not a good place. That was the big move of the day, and we really needed to be in it, but it took everything we had to be in it. And now we're getting pulled up by Hindley and just hanging on. Heart rate not quite in a place to restore any energy. Oh gosh, this next group catches up to me. That's not a good thing. We've been caught by all of these guys. I could have gained time on some of them, but actually they're pulling back some of those riders ahead of me, so that is giving us an opportunity to maybe recover slightly and have something for the end. But heart rate, again, struggling. We're kind of just in survival hang on mode, and yeah, things are not quite going as planned. But again, real life, Martin is just 22nd place, so my goal though was really to hang on to the top 10, and now That's in jeopardy as we are continuing to lose time now with Mater and Bilbao, two teammates. Definitely sitting on the wheel now with 2.5K to go. Hindley going backwards. Hagita going backwards. These are the guys that were with me up front, all getting dropped now by that chase group who were conservative. And apparently that would have been the way to go. That was the group to hang on to and not attack.
Attacked by Ciccone.
This climb is feared by many
But
riders.
I was right that was that winning move. That was the group that was going to go away and take off and do this thing. But we just aren't strong enough. Resistance 69 today. Stamina just 71 as we approach the final kilometer and the finish now coming. We're not that far down the road. Ciccone takes the stage. Moss, Carapaz, Caruso drops to 4th. And then Koos, top 5. De Gent, 700 meters. Let's eke our way forward here because we need to inch out all the time we can get. Still inside the top 20, 20th on the stage. Following that stage, we dropped to 12th place at 5 minutes 32 seconds behind. Again, still well above the 22nd in real life, but I'd really, really like to try to crack that top 10. It's difficult on extreme difficulty. Yes, the peloton is more aggressive, and we can really see that here, the way that climb was handled by the different groups. It wasn't just a single group attacking and then everybody else just kind of linking up and riding up the climb like you would normally see. We're seeing attacks and sub-attacks and groups moving past groups that attacked previously. You didn't see that in previous games, so I am seeing a little bit of that peloton behavior that they've talked about in changes. Let's go ahead and get into the final stages, or the final stage of this race, and then also the final updates on what's going on in the inner workings of Cyanide Studios. Final stage, and I was hoping to enter this one at least at the midway point and maybe even in preparation for the final alls category climb, but early on the breakaway a little too big, peloton not happy about it, and just now deciding to let it go. So there is some fatigue already in the legs of the riders in the peloton as we approach 3 back-to-back climbs with very little recovery in between as the elevation gets higher on each one. The third one you'll get a little bit of recovery for, but for the first 2 especially, that is one super long climb. So we'll see how many riders are left as we get to the top, but we are going to proceed quickly through this portion of this final stage. So back to the inner workings. Tour de France game. Those stages that take a month to do, they end up with huge files. Now, the big reason why they take so long is that, yes, there's more detail, but the scale is what is such a big key. As you can see, Morin already going backwards. He's going to be one of the first riders out the back of this peloton. It's going to be a long, long day for him, presumably. Anyway,
so for the moment, we shouldn't see too many attacks.
Also use some gels for these other guys. Parachon might need his now too. And Morin, he's going backwards. He's going backwards. Let's go ahead and set him to auto. We're not going to see him again. He's not out the back yet, but he'll be out the back soon enough. In PCM, a stage is scaled at 10 to 1. So for every 10 actual kilometers, the in-game actual distance in terms of bike rolling and whatnot, they're covering 10 kilometers worth. And so a lot of the climbs we see, like this stage, in real life there's not actually this much, not this amount of climbing, but everything's scaled down. And because of that scaling, as Morin is out the back now, and there's not many riders out the back, but definitely some as we approach the top of this one. Parachon is now dropping back really quick. Okay, Haas is struggling. I was hoping to use him, but we're down to just 84 riders, and I'm not sure he's going to make it over the top of this thing, still in the group. Yep, he does get dropped before the top, just before the summit, which really sucks, but we're down to 3 riders. The only 3 that can climb even a little. So
now it's the descent.
Geshka needs to get water for us before we get into that next climb. Can he do it on the descent? I sure hope he can. His group just lost contact, of course. Other guys going back to get water too. I hate how this game does that all the time. You see separations. Alright, Perez take over at the front, and we'll see if Geshka, who is trying to work his way forward, back to a peloton of 80, if he can complete the task, and then he'll take over on protecting Martin. Martin's also going to have to push a little bit harder on this next climb. right at the base of the climb, though, so he is going to waste some energy trying to get forward. Ineos clogging the lane at the moment. Have to help him squeeze his way through here. So we are 10-1 on PCM. The Tour de France ones, I don't know exactly what the scaling is. I'm new to that game, but I do believe that the scaling is much closer, if not actually 1-to-1 in scale. So whether it's 3-to-1 or 2-to-1, I don't know, but it is much closer, and that much I'm certain of. It's certainly not 10-to-1. It is scaled in a manner that puts it in that neighborhood. Perez, I want you to follow, please. Put the three of us together. Okay, Martin has slipped back a little bit. Don't want to slip back too far. 75 left in the peloton is all. We're through the hardest section. The climb's going to ease off a little bit from here for the next 8 kilometers. And then it'll ramp up again just before the peak. We're in that easier section now. You can see as we kind of roll through this town, it's definitely not as bad. In fact, we're down to 2.5 degrees. Back up to 5, but it's definitely rolling through a little bit easier. Because of that scaling and because of the detail involved, the Tour de France files, the stage files, are massive compared to a stage file for this game. And it's a game built for console. So as a result, the overall game size is limited. The constraints of the Xbox, not the PS5, the constraints of the Xbox are such that they have a capacity size that they have to stay within. And because of the size of the stage files, that's why the Tour de France game is far, far limited in terms of what you actually get. As Geschke now beginning to fade, 3K to go, Perez is going to have to take over the duties here on Martin, and he's also going to have to gel up. It looks like we're going to be solo for that final climb, but we're also getting down to a peloton here of just 34 riders at the moment, with seemingly 2 about to get dropped. But Geschke right now just hanging on to the back end. It would be amazing if he can and recover, but at the moment he is very much out. I think these guys are going to be okay. The pace has lifted and they're back in for now. Geschke hanging on. Final kilometer on this climb. This is wonderful if I can get Geschke over the top, still in the group. Please don't have a sudden acceleration here at the top. Just 2 riders left away, less than a minute ahead. All right, next thing. An update for this game that didn't make it on the list, the official list. And something that I actually find pretty important for this game. Geschke recovering. Okay, go get some water though. Continue your recovery, but Perez will stay in position. 35 chasing 2. 60 kilometers to go, but 1 climb along the way and 2 descents, so should be just about okay on water to the end of this thing. I hope those 21 riders do not make it back on, because those are going to help other riders, and they do. They've already, before we even get down the climb, have already recovered. Alright, Perez, you're going to go back into chasing. And into the valley below, we've got a short climb here. And then we'll level off on a slightly higher plateau and then begin the final climb. However, we don't finish at the top of that Alsket. We descend and then have a slight climb to the finish. 61 chasing 2, 1.5-minute gap. The 2 are McNulty and Roche. Oof. Recovery, as in your recovery attribute, as in the REC, that for Martin is a 75. Recovery is going to matter more going forward. They've changed the way that works. And here's the thing. Here's how it worked in years past. If you have decent recovery, as in like 73, 74 and above, then you will have no problem getting through a 21-stage race without seeing any sort of deterioration in your stamina. Stage after stage, you're fine. Didn't matter whether you had a 73 or an 85. If you had poor recovery, then yes, you would notice it as the race goes on. But even then, the impact, kind of minor. You could have a recovery of 55 and 60 and not see a huge decrease in your rider over the course of the race. So Perez, Geshka have already used their gels, by the way, so that's going to hurt Martin a little bit. He's almost at full strength. Perez is almost at full strength as we approach the final climb. We've got a little sprint here. I'm not worried about 1 second, so no push for that one. All right, here we go. All's cat. The final big climb of this tour and of this first look at Pro Cycling Manager 2021. Anyway, so recovery is going to be more impactful. So you're going to need that high 70s or 80s to be unaffected by the end of a 21 stage Grand Tour. Or a week-long tour is even going to now have the similar impact of what the 21 stager would have had before. Here, you never noticed anything on a 7-stage race at all. Only the 21 stage race did you ever notice that anything was going on at all in terms of recovery attribute, and that was only in the ones that were really poor. So bigger impact. It's going to have more going on late in these races. Geshka now beginning to fade. Perez is going to take over, and Martin, we're doing okay on this 81. We don't want to commit too much. 8K to go. This is a long ways out for a big move. 25 riders out the back, but you can see the move continues on. We are responding carefully. We're near the front of the group, so we're not in a bad position, but the attack continues. Perez now getting dropped. Set him to auto. Martin hanging on and saving energy. 5K to go. He's in pretty dang good shape with just 13 riders chasing one. The one is Carapaz. Now 12 riders. We are near the back of the group. 11 riders. We're hanging on and looking not strong, but we're looking pretty okay at this point. 10 riders. Sit on. No attack right now. 10 riders, and we are in fairly good shape. We've got the ability now to respond or go with an attack that sees this group get smaller and smaller. Now 9 riders. Those getting dropped are going to lose tons of time.
It's in such percentages that
As long as this group continues to ride on the descent. Here comes the move. It's Carthy. Let one go. Okay. Now we respond. We can see groups. More riders getting dropped here. 2K. And we're at the front. No attack right now. Everybody just sitting on 1.7K. I almost feel like I could attack this group soon, but we can't go solo. We're not going to go solo. We are recovering right now, which is great. 11 riders. Okay, now's the attack that I want. Caruso, Moss. I would have loved to have seen a couple riders get dropped, and a couple riders do get dropped. Now it's 8 at the front with a small gap for Caruso. We'll pull him back, but if we can be just 8 riders going into that final sequence, I'm going to feel really, really good about that final sequence and our ability to get back into the top 10. All right, now already recovering, and now we're going to hit that descent. He's going to have a small gap, and that's actually probably a really good thing, because then he'll struggle on that final little climb, and meanwhile I'm in recovery mode already. Okay, here's the big thing about what is going on ahead. They increased difficulty. That's the other part of that change. So the game's going to get tougher. That's a good thing, because I find the game way too easy for me. Extreme difficulty, and I still have to add extra challenges on to make the game interesting. I occasionally make mistakes on purpose in PCM 20. Often not, but sometimes I would. Sometimes I would, because you can only win so much before the game starts to get really boring for you and for everyone else. Back together. 8 riders. 8 riders. And Martin in really good shape with 8K to go. And a gel still to use. Okay, up the effort, because we're going to be pushing here. 6K to go. Here we go. Here's the move. Here's the move. We've got an attack.
And he spurts away from the group. He's going for
4 have
victory.
gone clear, but we are in cruise mode. 5K to go. These guys are attacking. Meanwhile, I'm riding a steady but high pace. Now we can see the first rider starting to fall off. There's that first move. Carapaz again going clear. And we're seeing the fade. Moss went too hard, went too deep, can't keep up. 7 riders chasing 1, and I'm squeezing my way through with 1K to go. All of a sudden, we're looking at 4 or 5 riders and coming up on the finish, and only a few guys have anything for the finish, and that is Martin, who is going for a stage win, potentially. I'm going to be out of energy too early. I'm going to get a podium, though. Hagita, Carapaz, Martin, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, nice result. That's going to move us up the order just a little bit. Only seconds. But look at that. Look at this huge gap from here. Oh, yeah. All right, here's the 2 things. Here's what the game has in store for the future, as in their plans, what they're looking ahead to do for PCM 22 and beyond. 1, the Pro Cyclist mode is long overdue for a facelift. They have not done anything with it these last 2 years. They did very little with it the year before. It's been essentially since it came out, and then the year after. So what, 2017? Where they have done any major changes to Pro Cyclist mode. So look for a facelift for Pro Cyclist mode for next year. Okay. Also, this is the big one. The engine that they are on is dated. They're kind of at the limits of what the engine can handle, of what they can do, and that's why we're not seeing major changes within the game engine, what we're looking at here. That's why it's largely the same. They know that they need a new game engine. However, with 15-member team, that's not enough. They have to bring team members, and this is what I was talking about late if you watched my career mode in PCM 20. What I was talking about late was they had 2 games in development that were coming near an end. I'm hoping that next year is the year. They've been complaining throughout this interview over and over again. They kept complaining that they only have 15 members. They only have 15 members. They only have 15 members. You can only do so much. You can only do so much. What was going on is this engine is aged. They really, really want to update it with a new one. But it's too big of a task for a team of this size. It's possible that next year is not the year. But they just had a big game release. They've got another game that's just about to release. And when do they do development? They do development from September to March. If you have titles that are coming out in, say, July, August, all of a sudden team members in the studio become available, can add to the 15, can update with a new license. I would love to see those be the 2 things for next year. A new updated, better graphics. You'd see major changes to what's going on here, where we haven't seen changes in a long time. And then the Pro Cyclist mode seeing a pretty hefty overhaul. I would be very, very thrilled to see a PCM 22 have those things. Here was the thing about PCM 21. A lot of people are disappointed. Very mixed reviews in the 48 hours since the game came out. Excuse me. A lot of changes. Lack of changes have a lot of people upset. PCM 20 was a very hard game to get out because of COVID. Everybody had to work from home. They had to adapt. Everything was delayed. Now, the game came out when it was supposed to, but it came out in an underwhelming fashion. And then they weren't able to get any proper work in until 2 months later than when they normally start their cycle. So their cycle, that is September, October, November, December, January, February, finish in March. So their cycle is 6 to 7 months long of update. Was shortened by 2 full months. So it was a third shorter than what it normally is. That is a significant decrease in production time. And they stuck with those 15 team members. And their focus this year was primarily on the Tour de France title. So Tour de France has seen a big upgrade. They got some bugs to fix. But working that out, that's going to be a solid game. That means they can now turn their attention, hopefully, back to Pro Cycling Manager. And I have this sneaky feeling that that's going to be the 2 big things we see for next year. They've hinted at it. They're going to see if they can do it. It's not the time. It's June. The game just came out. They're going to fix bugs for the next month. Then they're going to start planning in August. So what we're going to get out of that, hopefully, is at this point, they seem to be looking forward, going, here's the 2 things we know that need to happen. In August, they're going to see if it's possible. they're not going to do it with 15. Pro Cyclist mode, they're going to see an update. That's for sure. I can see that being 95% certain that that's going to be their focus this next year in terms of gameplay. In terms of the graphics engine, though, seeing a new one for next year, that would be amazing. That would absolutely be amazing. And at this point, that's going to come down to whether they can bring in additional team members from somewhere else. For Cyanide, this is their bread and butter. This is their main money maker. And they have to put this out every year. But they do it with a very limited team, where most of their team members at their studio, they have a little over 100. But at 2 locations, one in Canada and one in Paris, or just outside of Paris. But that main studio in Paris, more than half of their staff work there. So if there's 60 people, not all of them are involved in development of the game. But if you have 50 or so people that work on various titles, and suddenly you've freed up about 20 or 30 of those, wouldn't it be nice if their bread and butter got a little attention? Hopefully that's the case. We'll see. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Thanks for tuning in. This has been our first look at Pro Cycling Manager 2021, with or without major updates for this year. I'm still really excited to play and continue on. We'll have a long, lengthy career mode, but I'm also going to be working a lot more on producing some tutorials this season, or some deeper look at databases, mods, things of that nature this year. So we're going to get into a lot more of that, and maybe a little less just straight gameplay every day. I'll focus on adding in some additional work to the game. I'm also going to try to give a facelift to my career mode this year as we go through that. So we'll see if that works. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, comment below to help with that algorithm, all that fun stuff. You know the routine. You've been around YouTube for a while. So have I. Let's get on with another year, Pro Cycling Manager 2021, and I've got really high hopes for PCM 22, especially now that I know a bit more about the inner workings. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Vax up. Bye for now. We finished in 7th place, by the way. Nice result for Martin Caruso with the win by a minute 47. Ciccone, Garapaz rounding out the podium. I'm happy with that result. That's good for Martin. That's good on extreme difficulty. That's good with upgraded difficulty in the game itself. Bye for now.